Picture this. You have a vision of the best version of yourself. You're more focused, you're more fulfilled, and you're more free to do as you please. And you tell yourself, I'll get there someday. But here's the truth. Someday is not real. It's a mental block that you put in place to delay yourself from living the best life you could today. So many people have this version of themselves that finally gets it together. You want to wake up more energized, finally follow through on all of the many plans that you have, and even make those bold moves to really change up your lifestyle. But I bet right now you're stuck in survival mode. And you're actually feeling overwhelmed and distracted by the thought of even making good on those plans. And the longer that you wait to act on those plans, the more and more that dream feels blurry and out of reach. This is called the someday self trap. And we're going to chit-chat about how to escape it. Welcome to Shine with She. I'm your host, Sheila Marie. This podcast is all about being a multi-hyphenate and piecing together a life that you love. I myself am a multi-hyphenate. My current slashes are pharmacist, writer, and content creator. We'll talk about how to design a lifestyle and a portfolio career that balances all of your passions. And if you're looking to improve your mindset, productivity, and focus, then you are in the right place. Let's get into it. Here's the big idea. You don't become your someday self all at once. You become your someday self over time by acting like your someday self frequently. In fact, you should start thinking about your someday self as a friend that you have this deep intuitive connection with. Think of your someday self as one of those real friends that you can just sit down by the campfire and talk on and on and on for hours about life, and you can ask them legit questions. Like, hey, what habits did we let go of, and what decisions did we make that changed everything for us? I get tingles thinking about this because it's just a really fun exercise that really helps you bridge the gap between your current self and your someday self. It almost feels like you're reaching or skipping through time. And instead of idolizing that someday self, you're really reaching through and meeting them halfway. You get to interview them like someone that you trust deeply because the truth is, they are you. You need to have a deep trust with yourself to get out of the someday self trap. Now, let's talk about a few other tips that you can use to get out of the someday self trap and to avoid it. Number 1, set an identity-based goal. So many of us set goals that are based on a very certain outcome, like I want to start a business or I want to run a marathon. But we really should be setting goals that are based on our identity. Identity is what runs our operating system, aka our brain. For example, instead of saying I want to run a business, you would say I'm becoming a business owner. Or instead of I want to run a marathon, you would say I'm becoming a person who runs marathons. Hopefully you're hearing that difference in assertiveness and that confidence shift. One is kind of giving the vibe of, maybe I'll do it. And the other one, the better one, the identity-based goal is giving, I'm going to do it. It's a done deal. This type of goal really bridges your current and your future self by making that commitment to your identity. And then once you find that identity goal, then you can start making smaller, more outcome-based goals based off of that. And so back to the marathon goal that we talked about before. So you could say, okay, I'm becoming a person who runs marathons, and micro goals that you can make for that could be, I'm becoming a person who wakes up at 6 a.m. to train, or I'm becoming a person that meal preps for superfoods and protein-packed meals. So start thinking about those goals that you currently have and how you can start shifting those into being identity-based goals. When you keep meeting those identity-based goals and those micro identity-based goals, your brain is going to start to shift and be like, yes, I am that person. I have morphed into that. Number 2, win the next 10 minutes. The future you isn't asking for some massive overnight change. They're just asking for you to win the next 10 minutes. Just give yourself that grace and try to win the next 10 minutes, and then the next 10 minutes, and then the next 10 minutes. To become your future self or your someday self, you need to show up as them often, but not so often at the beginning that you start to lose your sense of yourself. You want to start small and start building those habits up to becoming your someday self so that you don't get overwhelmed and burnt out by all the changes that you make. So begin to ask yourself this question. What would the future me thank current me for doing in the next 10 minutes? It's easier and more sustainable to move toward the version of yourself that you want in these micro moments. Number 3, create your anti-someday environment. I think your environment, including the space that you're in and the people that you interact with, are so important to becoming your someday self. When your environment reflects who you are becoming, it's going to be easier for you to gravitate towards that goal. If your space is full of distractions and clutter, it's going to reinforce the idea that you keep telling yourself that you can't grow and you can't get out of your current situation. So build routines, keep visual reminders around yourself of who you want to become, and surround yourself with people who want to move forward like you and that don't just talk about it. Number 4, celebrate your progress. We tend to downplay our small wins, but I think that's exactly what we need to generate momentum. You don't actually have to wait until you're super successful or until you reach that someday self to celebrate. Acknowledge when you follow through on any of your mini plans or when you finally fulfill any of those promises to yourself. Every time that you pause to say, I did that, or this is a win for me, your brain is creating that neural pathway that repeats back to you. I'm someone who follows through on my plans to becoming my someday self, and the steps that I'm taking make me feel rewarded. Reinforcing your thoughts in this way keep you pushing forward. Number 5, let go of your guilt and start practicing some compassion. One of the biggest blocks between you and your someday self isn't time or talent, it's shame. Remember that the you from the past didn't fail you. They were learning and doing their best with what they knew at that current time. And carrying guilt doesn't motivate you, it paralyzes you. But guess what? Compassion gives you that energy to begin again. Every day you can hit reset and maybe even do some gratitude affirmations for your past self. Remember that you don't need to punish your past self in order to grow, and your someday self is not disappointed in you. They are rooting for you because the reality is they are you. So hopefully all of these tips help you to become your someday self and have even motivated you to start working on those identity-based goals and moving forward. If you're someone who is currently working on their someday self, or you have any tips on how to get there, Or if you just want to chat with people who are in the same boat as you, make sure that you head to shinewithshe.com and sign up for the Multi-Hyphenate HQ community. I'm building this community so that we can connect and share our experiences. That's a wrap for today's episode of Shine with She. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps more multi-hyphenates and multi-passionates like you find the show. And don't forget to share with a friend who could use a little more shine in their life. Bye!